of Work and Research Group on Technologies of Intelligence and Digital Design. I express our gratitude for the speakers, partners, and participants of the second TechnoIN, an event which aims to promote a dialogue about the impact of technology in the society. Before we start, I'd like to invite Guilherme Pita, President of BRASA, Brazilian Association of Students at UOT, who will make the land acknowledgement statement.
Excellent. We wish to acknowledge this land on which the University of Toronto operates. For thousands of years, it has been the traditional land of the Huron-Wendat, the Seneca, and the Mississaugas of the Credit. Today, this meeting place is still the home to many Indigenous people from across Turtle Island, and we are grateful to have the opportunity to work on this land.
Thank you, Guilherme. So today is a very special day for us. We have special guests, and this meeting has been recorded, and many people will watch the video after our event. I especially appreciate our special guests who kindly accepted our invitation to be part of this remarkable event. I'd like to invite them to join on the stage. I will start with the president of FCBB, Francisco Bianchi. No, you can choose. Yeah, we are. It's an informal event. We are more concerned about the content and people. We have a very interesting people and professors here, so it'll be informal. I'd like to invite Dr. Mark Fox. Professor at UOT. Thank you, Dr. Mark, for accepting our invitation. He's a distinguished professor of urban system engineer of University of Toronto. I'd like to invite Dr. Youssef, professor from Humboldt College. And also, I'd like to invite Mr. Alexandre Piana, Deputy Consul General of Brazil in Toronto. We are very pleased to have you all here to start our event. I'd like to invite you, Francisco, to talk a little bit about FCBB before we start. And I will break the protocol here, okay? I will just invite you to talk, Francisco, and then Alexandre, and then we'll pass to the people in Brazil, and we'll have some translation here, and then after we can start our first panel, okay? Dr. Lucia, and then okay, Francisco.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Thank you. I'm the president of the FCB, Federation of Canadian Living Business. We were founded 14 years ago. Our target is to focus on developing startups, entrepreneurs, and small business in doing bilateral trade in Brazil and in Canada, and most of it also in innovation. So we focus a lot of innovation, a lot of technology, and we help startups coming to Canada and startups coming from Canada to Brazil. So a lot of ideas, a lot of members, a lot of companies, and we have some here that have been in the staff, and also we have online. And so that's what we do, and I'd like to thank you so much, for the opportunity to be here at UOT today. Thank you, Professor Mark Fox. Thank you, UOT, and everyone else at Plaza, and a lot of partners that made this event happened today, especially thanks to also Lee and Jenny in Brazil over there and Professor Marcelo. I know they have been put a lot of effort in the last 2 months to make this event happen. So I'm very, very honored to be here today in that sense. And with no further ado, I'll pass the floor to Alexandre, Brazilian Deputy Security Law.
So, good evening, everyone. Thank you, Francisco. First of all, I'd like to thank you all for being here and for the invitation and opportunity. Thank you especially Francisco and also Lee, on behalf of CPE for the opportunity of participating in this event, which from the point of the Brazilian Consulate General and the Brazilian government is a very timely one. Science, technology, innovation is one of the main sectors of the Brazilian Consulate in Toronto, alongside the trade sector, the cultural sector. And one of the main missions of the consulate is to promote the cooperation in science and technology between both countries. So it comes to mind mainly when we talk about science and technology, the startups, right? So that's the main focus. Many times the conferences we help bringing Brazilian startups here and try getting Canadian businesses and startups to Brazil to promote investments. And this is different, and I believe it's a very underdeveloped area of the cooperation. Is simply the exchange, the academic research and exchange between Brazilian and Canada universities and institutional research, because there's much space, much scope for cooperation, and we should invest in this way. So when I received the invitation, I immediately accepted that. I guess we should start focusing more and more in the talks, innovation centers, research institutions, because that's where thing happens, and that what we go from to build up, all the rest, the startups and the businesses. And basically, to talk about artificial intelligence, we should start talking about that. I won't say anything specific on the matter. I'll leave that to the expert that's going to be participating on the symposium over the next few days. But yeah, it's a timely issue from the point of view of the governments. I would say the ethics of the artificial intelligence is a very important matter, and I'm very looking forward to watch, to hear what everybody here, the experts, the students, they have to say. And again, thank you all, and wish you all a very successful symposium. Thank you very much.
Well, 7 years ago, Marcelo and I met. I was working in a large corporation, IT corporation. I was the Global University Programs leader for Latin America when I met Marcelo. Marcelo was studying the impact on AI on society, and then we started working together and research together. Then I moved to Canada. Then Marcelo led the same event last year with Portugal, with co-integrators. He can explain better, but it's here he called me and say, can we do something with Canada, with FCBD, Raza, and then we, as Guilherme and Raza, they are our partners at FCBD. So here we are after months working. So we still are our partners, we still research together, but now looking to study Canada and also Brazil, Canada. So Marcelo, I pass to you. I hope the translation they will speak in Portuguese, but we will listen in English. I hope it works. Can we try? Marcelo, it's up to you. Yeah.
Então, Marcelo, por favor, a palavra é sua.
Você me ouve bem?
Yeah, we just need to raise our.
Can you hear me all right?
Yes. Yeah, can you ask again, please?
Can you hear me? Hello, testing. 1, 2, 3, testing.
Thank
Can you
you.
hear me? Great.
Yes.
Ok. Bom, obrigado.
Thank you very much. And just as Alceli mentioned, this is our second international symposium. And I'd like just to make some announcements. This is a partnership between the University of Toronto and the Catholic University of São Paulo. And it stemmed from our group, from our program in technology, technologies of intelligence. I'd like to highlight the role played by the Brazilian Association of Brazilian Students in Canada, and I'd like to greet Guilherme Pita and thank him on behalf of all the other students, as well as Francisco Bianchi for his support, and also Observatório do Futuro do Trabalho from the Catholic University of São Paulo. We also have the support of the Brazilian Association of Software. I'd like to thank Jamile Sabatini and Latin Startups. So I'd like to thank Miriam Azorti for her support. We do have a long list of people we'd like to recognize. So Jenny Shi, who is here with us, representing also the Federation of Business Brazil Canada, Karen Sapienza, who is here. She is part of our research group on TIDs. And I should tell you that both Karen and Jenny have worked hard in order to put this meeting together. We'd like also to thank our technology department, also the entire university, the AV team. I'd like also to recognize Professor Lucia Santaella. She is the founder of our program. She is certainly an inspiration for us to carry out our research and innovation initiatives. Thank you very much. Here with us, Professor Geraldini. She is also our dean, so thank you very much. Professor Fonseca, also our prorector here, and on their behalf, I'd like to greet the University of Toronto, Humboldt College, and the Toronto Business College. So thank you for your partnership. Now I'd like to turn it over to Professor Marcio and then Professor Alexandre. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Professor Marcelo. I'd like to thank you for allowing me to greet the participants, also officials present here, all of our colleagues, and to thank the coordinators of the program Technologies of Intelligence, also the School of Engineering, and our professors and our students. It is a graduate study program that is key for the programs we offer here at our university. And as we all know,
grandes áreas de humanidades e ciências.
This school is well known for its programs in the humanities and applied sciences. And that's why the program of technologies of innovation that started with a master's program in 2011 and also a PhD degree program leads this university to the organization and systematization of research as well as training and promoting the interface between humanities and technologies. This program is growing stronger and it's also becoming known both nationally and internationally. It certainly enhances all the research that we conducted before. For example, cognitive semiotics, designing cognitive intelligence, innovation systems, and now we are expanding that to a new line of research with the introduction of artificial intelligence and management. Also, every 4 years, the Brazilian organization that assesses graduate programs, we had a very good rating. So the agency considers that we offer excellent programs. Today, we are raising the bar. So to summarize, I'd like to express the support of this organization, of our graduate programs, particularly to technologies of innovation, not to mention the expectations we hold regarding the role played by technologies of intelligence, rather, and the impact on our society. We are sure that research coming from technologies of intelligence will contribute to our society. I'd like also to extend my gratitude to professors, students, former students. I see many of them here tonight. And furthermore, going beyond the exchange of experience, I'd like also to stress another important feature of this symposium that is related to our program on technologies of intelligence from its very beginning. So we have Professor Lúcia Santarém, who has been a pillar of this program from the very beginning. I'd like to thank her and to recognize her today when we are celebrating technologies of intelligence. And once again, I'd like to express my gratitude to all of you who are at the forefront of these programs. Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to greet all of you who are here in this room and those who are joining us online, our colleagues from Canada, from different organizations, my colleagues here at the head table, also the audience, Professor Marcelo, coordinator of our program, Technologies of Intelligence. We're sorry, we are not receiving the audio. So, there are processes that we do not understand very well, but we are, regardless of that, still responsible for them. We know that it's not easy to develop technologies, but we see an advancement taking place very quickly, and also how it's being applied with different kinds of approach, always avoiding exclusion, which is a part of our role. That's not an easy task. It takes a lot of studies, and we know that we do have many colleagues who do not stop or just helping our students, just as Professor Santella. And if technology itself represents a huge challenge, its interaction with human beings also presents some other challenges we do not know yet. We also know that it takes a long time to implement them and to use them. It also takes a long time for us to also educate many people. So it takes persistence, human resources, and also funds. And I think we are mastering that. So technologies of intelligence and research, digital transformation, and society have been mastering that. So I'm very happy to be here tonight to celebrate this partnership with our students, professors, also professionals, so that we can learn more and also to discuss new challenges. It's very important to have different stakeholders that will give us more opportunities to address all these subjects that is very complex. And certainly exchange of ideas is key for us to keep moving forward. And that's why I can only thank you all. So thank you very much for inviting me to be part of this head table. And please allow me to greet Professor Santaella, who is certainly a pillar of everything that we are doing. Thank you. Thank you, Professor Alexandra, Professor Marcio. Now I'd like to turn it over to Karen. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the group that is in charge of the event, and also I'd like to thank our interpreters. So the interpreters are part of Susana Gontijo's team at Target. I kindly ask you to also pay attention because we will give out some certificates after you answer our survey at the end. So now we will transition to our first panel, Intelligence and Consciousness. And tomorrow, we will hold 3 more panels. The first one is about internet history and the progress of artificial intelligence. The second one is about technologies. And the third is about the challenges of Society 5.0. So I invite you all to participate tomorrow as well. So now, Alceli, I'd like to turn it over to you so that you can close this opening ceremony and to also open the first panel. So once again, I'd like to thank here Professor Marcio, Alexandra, Marcio, and Karen. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Before we invite our guests to start the panel, I'd like to invite Miriam Lazarte, the CEO of Latam Startup, to talk about Latam Startup. And thank you so much for people. Thank you so much for inviting me. I know I'm supposed to be a part of the opening remarks, so I'm really sorry that, I arrived a bit late here for that.
My name is Miriam Hazarde. I'm the CEO of Latin Startups. Latin Startups is an accelerator based here in Toronto. We work with a number of international startups. We have been in contact with CPB for a number of years, I think since almost the beginning of our organization. And we always have very good ties, with this organization that has a wonderful work for Brazilian entrepreneurs and for the Brazilian community here. So as part of Latin Startups, I just want to say that, we have a very good Brazilian community in our organization, very, very smart startups that are growing here in Canada, some others that are growing back in their country, in Brazil. And I'm very proud of the Brazilian community we have in this country. And I hope that, the event that I saw today, the agenda is fantastic. I hope that, for the 2 days that you guys are going to be working, really getting to something deep in for is artificial intelligence, which is, the trending topic, I think, for this whole year. It has been, and I know how smart people are in Brazil, so I would like to really, on behalf of Latin Startup, thank you for, being a part of this event, at least for this small part, and I wish you a very happy and, connected event for what is artificial intelligence for these 2 days. Thank you.
Amazing partner, and for those Latin or people in Latin, I invite you to go to Latin, to visit Latin. They're very nice. So now, Lucia is over there, Marcelo is over there. So yeah, I asked Alicia and Francisco to see them here. And I'll turn over to Joseph, who will moderate the panel. Here.
Thank you very much. Today, congratulations to the team of hardworking people in FCBB, led by President Francisco, and I'd like to recognize in the audience here former President Sergio, who helped to structure the Federation and the many other friends, members of the community here. It's my distinguished honor, and the Consul, the Vice Consul of Brazil here for this report as well, Professor Mark, and all the panels that are in this event. It is really a very interesting topic, it's very timely, and I am very excited to learn about what comes ahead in this panel. We have two great panelists, great scholars, one from Brazil and one from the University of Toronto, Professor Mark Fox from the School of Engineering. And by the way, the University of Toronto is the temple of the modern artificial intelligence development. It's not well recognized. People talk about Google and talking about ChatGPT, but we all know that all of this development came from the labs at the University of Toronto and the former student of Professor Jeffrey and he went to Google after that. So I'm very proud of the Toronto University of Toronto scholars here. But I prepared some opening remarks, welcome also again. A warm welcome to this thought-provoking panel discussion on a topic at the forefront of technological and philosophical exploration, intelligence and consciousness. AI role in empowering human capacity. I am from that side of critique on AI. And Professor Lucia does not know that I do speak Portuguese, so ask her for a book. Professor Lucia, I want that book still. So, in an era of remarkable advances in artificial intelligence, our understanding of intelligence and consciousness has evolved significantly. The discourse around AI often centers on its potential to replace human roles and tasks. However, today we gather here to delve deeper into an alternative perspective that embraces the idea of AI not as a rival, but as a collaborator in unlocking the full extent of human potential. Over the next hour or so, we are privileged to have here our dear professor here in Brazil, dear Professor Lucia Santaella, a very well-known scholar in Brazil, and with more than 53 books, I guess, and hundreds of theses and doctoral theses and postdoctoral studies on the impact of AI on the society and semantics and semiotics and other topics well known in Brazil, and also a distinguished professor, Professor Mark Fox, who is really well known here in the community. And just I will pull quickly his bio. According to artificial intelligence. So Professor Mark Stephen Fox is a Canadian computer scientist, professor of industrial engineering, and distinguished professor of urban systems engineering at the University of Toronto, known for the development of constraint-directed scheduling in the 80s and the TOG project to develop an ontological framework for enterprise modeling and enterprise integration in the 90s. And he's so young. I mean, I can't see how that started with, you know, it's a long time ago. So, with our two scholars, distinguished scholars here, we aim to foster this balance, enlightening discussions that traverses the realms of possibilities and challenges inherent in this concept. We will explore how AI has already begun enhancing sectors like healthcare, education, and creative arts while pondering the ethical considerations that arise. We'll contemplate whether AI truly possesses the capacity for consciousness and how our understanding of human consciousness influences our perception of AI. What I will open the mic for opening remarks from Professor Mark Fox here, and then Professor Lucia in Brazil, and then we will start the debate. Professor, it's a pleasure to have you here in our audience, and I am looking forward to your perspective. That's fun.
Thank you very much, and thank you for inviting me. Only being in Brazil once to Sao Paulo. I enjoyed that visit. Hoping I can get back there soon. I didn't actually come prepared with opening remarks, so we were getting some questions, and that helps. But I thought we were going to do the questions later. We were kind of like that. You start with your perspective on the questions. Okay. What's my perspective? That's a good question. My perspective is that if we look at something like ChatGPT, it's not only the layperson that is surprised at the level of performance of ChatGPT in the system, but it also surprised the artificial intelligence. We were all surprised that by the addition of large amounts of knowledge, using autoencoding, other neural techniques, that we could actually achieve that level of performance. In some ways, it reminds me of the early days of AI when gameplay was a big focus. Back in the days when we focused on chess, we found that when we increased the power of the computers we were using and creating specialized chips for doing search, that the ability to search far more moves into the future allowed us to increase the performance of those systems. So where in the past it was increasing the amount of searching you're doing, now it's increasing the amount of information that you're able to code has totally changed what's happening. And I see how some people may be driven to be that we're on the cusp of the singularity, where the singularity is a point at which computers become smarter than human beings and continue to innovate at a faster speed. And who knows what the future is after that point? Will computers take over? Will AI systems take over what we do? I have nothing to say about that, except that I absolutely believe that the singularity is not around the corner. I'll never forget, before I returned to Toronto, and I did my undergraduate degree here in computer science in the early 70s, first half of the 70s. No, I'm not that young. I'm getting old, so I've lost my So where am I going? Where am I going? Singularity. Sorry? Singularity. Singularity. That's like you. Now I have. So I went to Carnegie Mellon and did my PhD there and stayed on as a professor in computer science and robotics. Returned here in 1991, but that's another story. But the point I want to make is I was at one of the homes in the United States of the birth of AI. There are three places. There's MIT, Stanford, and I was working with people who were absolutely brilliant, smarter than me. That's not difficult to be. And my supervisor was a guy named Bert Stein. And he got a Nobel Prize in economics. He's a polymath. He was brilliant in AI, computer science, cognitive science, management science, et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, he believed that that intelligent machines were just around the corner. Okay, it wasn't 100 years, 500 years. It was 20 years. Yeah. And then I had a colleague, when we started the Robotics Institute in 1980, one of my colleagues there was, and my area of expertise was in thinking. So it's really what we call white collar robotics back then. But we had somebody else who worked on actual physical robots, which I did. Anyway, he always said, robots that can do everything is just 20 years around the corner. So that was like 1990, 20 years around the corner. Okay, 2000, 20 years around the corner. 2010, 20 years around the corner. The goal line is always being pushed out in the future. And the reason why the goal line is pushed out in the future is we truly don't understand the complexity of what it means to build machines that can actually be a general intelligence. And so we continue to fool ourselves as we develop better and better systems, better and better algorithms, better and better neural nets, et cetera, that things are just around the corner, okay? Well, take as an example, self-driving cars. 15 years ago, it's 5 years from now, it's just around the corner. 10 years ago, 5 years from now, 5 years ago, 5 years from now, it's now 5 years from now. If you believe what is being written, we would be in self-driving cars a long time. But the complexity of a self-driving car is so great when you start saying, what's the environment that it has to operate in? Can these cars actually operate in Canada in the middle of winter? Okay, sleet, snow, fog, the whole bit. The answer is no. Okay. And do we know how to do it in 5 years? No. And if I speak to the specialists who've been working on self-driving cars for 30 years, the answer is no. Now, is it 20 years from now, 30 years from now, 50 years from now? I don't know. And that's really the true answer. Nobody knows. Singularity 50, 100 years from now. Don't know, okay? Is the existing ChatGPT-like systems existence proofs of a singularity 20 years from now? Absolutely not. And is ChatGPT and neural nets an existence proof that a computer can be conscious? Who even knows how to define consciousness, let alone prove that something is going to be conscious? And do we really care if it's conscious? Okay? I can tell you right now, I've been in classrooms where a number of students were barely conscious. Okay? And if that's made to prove that they have consciousness, the answer is probably not. So, we keep wanting to insert things into the path, the roadmap of smart computers, such as consciousness, such as truly intelligent, but we don't even know how to measure. We used to use a Turing test as a means of determining whether a computer is smart. And the reality is, you can fool most of the people most of the time, and we don't really know if they're intelligent. Okay, believe me, we can run more people on the Turing test, actual people who will fail, than running ChatGPT. Okay, and so does that mean ChatGPT is intelligent? No, it's good at certain tasks. And that's the reality of everything that we're doing, is we're building better and better machines that are good at certain tasks. And the trick is understanding what the limitations are. Okay? So if you want to be smart about where AI is heading, first thing to be smart about is what are the limitations of what it is. And so if you want something, if you take a look at ChatGPT, it's really good at taking vast amounts of information, compressing it, and generating summaries that are really, really good. But if I ask it to schedule a factory, it can't do that. If I ask it to do any type of combinatorial problem, it can't do that without referring to some other algorithms. And that's where it becomes fun, is not ChatGPT by itself, but when you couple ChatGPT with other types of technologies, suddenly things become even smarter and better. This is not just, who cares? Okay, what are we going to do? We're going to have it tell us that God exists or something like that. Okay? That's for you to decide, not for the machines. Anyway, I'll stop there. Thank you very much. It's better than your plan. Fantastic perspective. Okay, now I'm looking forward to talking to consciousness. I'm looking forward to listen to Dr. Lucia Santaella, because she has a lot to say, I'm sure she has. So looking to hear from her too before we get some questions to be asked about other issues related to consciousness and artificial intelligence. Professor Lucia, welcome. And eu falo português também, tá?
I speak Portuguese as well. Well, thank you very much. Please allow me to stand up. But I'd like to start by greeting all of you, the officials present here and in Canada, and express my heartfelt thanks for remembering my name during the opening ceremony. It's not a work that I do, it's our work. I've written 2 books on intelligence, consciousness, and more recently, ChatGPT. For those of you who are here present, my books are being sold outside this room. Anyway, I have prepared my talk, and I can tell you that it's a summary of my knowledge, because it's very hard to talk about intelligence and consciousness. I call it a manifest vis-a-vis the current scenario that we have been facing now that we have AI as part of our day-to-day. And I should also say that I am very interested in the subject, and I'm very interested in the cognitive sciences. And I have been following the ups and downs of the development of artificial intelligence. And I'd like just to state that so that you know where I stand during my talk, this hot topic. I am not talking from the perspective of developers, but rather from the side of human consequences and the impact of artificial intelligence. And I'd say that we are at the crossroads of 2 fields, cognitive philosophy and technology. And that leads me to the issue that I'm going to discuss very briefly. And it's a great honor once again to be here, to be part of the first panel, and to be here with our distinguished colleagues from Toronto. Well, we know that discussion about intelligence and artificial intelligence stemmed from many other areas, cognitive sciences. And today, together with the research on AI, we know that, well, that is part of many other fields. So just to talk about the zeitgeist, specialists in technologies in general, and also on the philosophy of technology, they addressed intelligence in their studies, particularly focusing on transformations, and that is really important, the concept of intelligence. And we know that there is this concern and the need to reconsider the pathology of humans. And this is what you find in different books. Philosophy of technology. We are now rethinking the human. And it's very curious to observe that AI, namely those that suffer the impact of artificial intelligence, but are not part of the research team. We see resistance, considering the fact that AI requires a transformation in our past beliefs on what intelligence means as being something that's exclusive to humans. And we know that that's not right. Plants think, forests think, not to mention our pets. It's also interesting to observe that we should also address sharing intelligence. I'm talking about intelligence of humans, plants, animals, but it's still very hard for us to address the intelligence of machines. And we know that recently we achieved the state of the art in that field. And we know that we see many challenges that AI is facing. But we know that there is this line between organic, namely human beings, and machines. So a separation. And we know that that has been represented by Cartesian philosophy as well as by Heidegger's philosophy. Animals and machines are considered stupid. I don't think I need to go in depth about that. I'm not a specialist in that. So I'll let that to my colleagues to discuss. But just to show you how complex discussing AI is today. As a starting point, I should say that artificial intelligence is a very complex field of research. It includes statistics, also probabilities, something that is not at the hands of lay people. So once this hype takes over, anybody feels that they have a say about that, even if they were not curious enough to learn about that. And this is the worst legacy that social media has left us with. And what we see is that this is addressed by just groups or using social media that want to attract the attention of more people. And we know that if it is not supported by science, that is really tough. So let me talk about 2 points of what I call a challenge. I just wrote a paper about that. I can tell you that my paper is much better than what I'm sharing here. But the first one talks about some controversies, some mistakes, and disinformation. We know that this will lead to confusion between intelligence and consciousness. But fortunately, AI researchers are very clear, and they know that this is not right. They know that their field is intelligence, not consciousness. We should let consciousness to be studied by psychologists, philosophers, and probably to neuroscientists as well. TechnoIN had already mentioned that consciousness is not something that we can know. And that's why we have also the idea of a general intelligence for the future, in which the focus is intelligence per se and not consciousness. To summarize, I agree with specialists that consciousness is an inner phenomenon. It's our entire life that is here, and that is what we call consciousness. At every single minute we are alive. And because it's our inner consciousness, it's very hard for us to find means to share that, to share between different consciousness. And also it's very hard for us to understand whether other animals have consciousness. But human intelligence can be shared. We use language and coding systems to share it. And that's why it's collective. Being able to speak makes us being able to share from the very beginning. Another point of such complexity, especially when we talk about computer science. Well, there are those who deny artificial intelligence. I mean, this firm denial that there is any form of artificial intelligence, which then imply that intelligence is not present, but that's not true. Very recently, and we all know, many books and papers have been published saying that that is as stupid as a typewriter. But a typewriter is not stupid. It's not stupid at all. Any other forms of intelligence, they stem from intelligence or perhaps not intelligence. So to whose specialists, there is this misunderstanding on what is artificial intelligence and what is not artificial intelligence. So when part of the media talk about artificial intelligence, they are talking about machine learning, but that is deep machine learning. People tend to also use that, and sometimes they use that and understand that as human intelligence. So there is an argument that is often used, learning. Human intelligence is alive and it's metabolic, but if learning, metabolic, I should say, but it involves continuous learning. So we need to take into account the plasticity of the human brain. It's plastic because it learns. But if the learning takes place at the heart that what intelligence is made, that seems to be like a guardian node. And then we deny that machines are intelligent. Say, but AI algorithms are intelligent. And they are intelligent because they learn, they self-organize themselves, they correct their mistakes, and they reach their targets. This is the most general overview of intelligence. Freedom. In order to build intelligent machines, specialists compare that to the complexity of human beings. It's true. Those who advocate for computer intelligence, and we know that computers have the capacity to learn based on the information they received, that are fed by human beings. And this type of intelligence is certainly different from human beings' intelligence. So artificial intelligence identifies patterns that optimize important trends before they give us results. But unlike humans, artificial intelligence does not have a metabolic body regulated by hormones, a body that feels fatigued, that wants to sleep, that is separated by the mind, and the mind may be tormented by psychological issues that are sometimes traumatized. And human intelligence then is subject to chemical ups and downs of our body, of neurotransmitters, of different chemical substances. And we know we are beings that think as well.
In view of urgencies, emotions are the chemical machine that set the existential priorities. Of course, emotion speaks louder. And because of that, it makes absolutely no sense to make rush comparisons between human intelligence and AI. Especially even today with generative AI, which started to talk to us, but still it makes no sense to state that artificial intelligence has no intelligence. The modalities of intelligence in the AI are different from those of ours. AI exceeds effectively with deductive reasoning. It's a way of intelligence that we also process as human beings, with the difference that AI can process a huge amount of data through which artificial neural networks have learned how to deal with. As you can see, I'm not going to solve any problem here. We just have to take into considerations the modalities of AI with artificial intelligence, and it does not mean hide or neglect the huge challenges that AI is bringing to everything that involves human beings. Nothing is left aside. The key aspect of technologies have always been part of ambivalence. On the one side, we have AI and applications bringing extremely important contributions to management of human life, managing our 7 billion people in the planet. But at the same time, we should not minimize contradictions and dilemmas brought by AI, which have been subject of ethical discussions taking place involving regulations and involving all of you. And of course, this is urgent. We have to have these discussions. Despite contradictions and dilemmas, we have to just face them up front. We should really focus on having appropriate understanding of human beings. We should not hide or disguise anything, because if we do that, we are going just to shy away from our real problems. Thank you all very much.
Os especialistas são Dora Kaufman e o Anderson.
Dora Kaufman and Anderson. They are the most knowledgeable people here. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And Dora, I follow her on LinkedIn. We have congrats on your article for São Paulo. I guess I follow and made some comments. Thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Lucia, for your perspective. Very optimistic, as I'm like optimistic, seeing your own side of Dr. Mark as well. You're giving me very, very good perspective on how the future will be looking like. Although there is this current, thoughts that are kind of divergent, and some scientists, like, or professors, prominent scholars like Yuval Harari, and our own Professor Geoffrey Hinton, and Mo, and many other scholars that have been pointing towards the purpose that you were talking about, but in deepest way. But I'm really interested in also learning from Professor Mark about his perspective and a couple of questions that are related to how do you envision AI's role in enhancing human capabilities rather than replacing them? This is one of the questions that I have for you. And if I may also ask, how can human and AI collaborate effectively to achieve outcomes neither could accomplish alone if that is a possibility? And can you elaborate more on your examples when we're talking about these topics? So I see that you're optimist, and I love your vision. I believe in humanity, and I think we need to believe in that term, but I wish to hear from you. How can we make these technologies human, called organic being and non-organic being, according to Yuval Harari, work together as next human? So, where do I start? The first thing I want to say is, why are we talking about artificial intelligence comes to envisioning or enhancing human capability? When we introduce automation on our farms, I think there's some receiving people around the country who are quite going on farms. Did we have this type of conversation? We probably did. I mean, tractors enhanced capabilities. Okay. Didn't necessarily enhance the climate per se. Well, they had to think about it and not use it. But we pretty much talking about 80% of that 90% off our farms and what? Manufacturing. Then what did we do? We automated manufacturing. In this case, not with tractors, but with computer controlled American controlled machines. And what did we do? We pushed 90% of people in manufacturing out of the manufacturing floors and into the service industry. Okay. Now what we're doing is the same. Where the service industry is being automated. And I'm not talking about using AI at this moment. In my youth, I visited an aircraft corporation, major aircraft corporation. They had these buildings that were hangars converted into huge spaces filled with people at desks, which were doing drafting and other things related to the design of persons that go into airplanes. Today, if you go and ask where are those people, they're all gone. Why? We introduced computer-aided design and computer-aided manufacturing, computer-aided this, computer-aided that. But that's necessarily all the artificial intelligence, which is one percentage of people are in the aircraft industry. And then other who were there doing manual driving. And so when you look at the evolution of work today, years, you can see the encouragement of technology on this to find that work at that particular job. And we continually see the changing of what the roles are for people in society. And I was just looking at statistics before, and 80 years ago, I don't know if I have it, let's see, I wrote it down somewhere, but 60% of the roles that exist in the economy did not exist 80 years ago. So we're always inventing new things for people to do. I mean, I don't think that the numbers are indicative of what's going on. The social media world, the whole online world has invented whole new roles that didn't exist years ago. But we seem to move on. And what I always like to tell people is, for some reason, the economy has appeared to continuously evolve in terms of nature of jobs and continuously evolve in its ability to absorb people to the economy. So one of the things I always like to point out is that there was this major shift in the economy that started in the 90s. What was that? It was the movement of women out of the home for some age into business world. Nobody stood around and said, "Oh, come on. You can absorb all the people into the economy." We just did it. We were paying attention. And you see that continuously building the economy to absorb influxes of people, changing their roles in the economy. Because one of the things that people do well, and I'm not going to talk about, one of the things that people do well is we innovate. And if you take innovation out of the equation, then you'll always be stuck in believing that change that's occurring here and now is negative. Okay? Another thing, and this is what I like about being old, is I remember some of these things. At MIT, in the had to be the 1960s, there was something called the Club of Rome. And it was a group of people systems dynamics. So they're doing differential equation models of the economy, a worldwide economy. And what their analysis showed is that by some time, and I'm not sure, 80s or 90s, there would be widespread famine across the world. Okay? And everybody was up in arms, thinking, oh boy, we're really going downhill. Things are bad. Okay, we're going to be starving all over the place. Well, besides the mathematics being wrong and the mathematics being inadequate, they also couldn't take into account the innovative capabilities of people. Now, I'm not going to map that onto climate change. Climate change to me is a whole new ball game. But be wary of people who predict this, except in the climate change area. I'm wary of people who don't believe that that's occurring. But never ignore the innovative capacity of people to come up with new ways of working, to come up with new roles and skills, et cetera, et cetera. And so let me get back to the question, how are we going to enhance human capability? I did a study back in, the middle 1990s. We went into a company called Spar Aerospace. For those of you who don't know who they are, they're the company, Canadian company that designed and built the Canada arm, the arm on the space station, the arm on the shuttle, space shuttle, et cetera. So it's all made in Canada type stuff. Okay. And so I went in there with a student of mine and we studied how it is that design engineers spend their time. And we discovered that over 60% of their time was spent looking for information, looking for knowledge that is necessary for them to perform a design. Okay, so how is that relevant to enhancing human capabilities? If I extrapolate that to a lot of other tasks that take intelligence, you'll discover that there is a research phase, a knowledge acquisition phase, a knowledge search phase, et cetera, that you have to go through in order to do your task. Now, Google has made it faster to find that information, but you still have to assimilate it. ChatGPT has made it even faster because it does some of the assimilation for you. So if somehow, let's say 50% of your time in any task that requires some degree of intelligence 50% is spent searching for things that are relevant to the design task. If you suddenly take that 50% away or 40% away because you're using smarter and smarter technology, what are we doing? We're supercharging people to do things faster and smarter. And that's a great use of that technology. If that's all it did was supercharge, rebalance the nature of the work that we do, that is fantastic. And that's what it's beginning to do. And it also, but it has side for our students who use ChatGPT to generate their answers to their questions or whatever it is. Okay. It's supercharging them. Okay. It's doing the search, it's doing the analysis, generating things. But we also have to keep in mind that all these things have to have guardrails because these technology is not perfect. And it's we who represent the guardrail that is able to detect when the results are imperfect, when they're actually good. So the trick here, this is true for professors and everybody else, is not to think of this as a bad thing, it's writing our essays and stuff like that, but to turn it around and say, that's a great thing. We've now supercharged people to do things they couldn't do well before. So what should we be teaching them? What are the new skills that we need to teach them that takes advantage of things like ChatGPT and allows them to amplify their ability to contribute to whatever it is that they're contributing. So that's all I want to say about enhancing human capabilities. Oh, I just want to say one more thing. I'm an avid science fiction reader, okay? And if what you want me to do is talk about what science fiction people think about people's skills, the integration of artificial intelligence in humans, the embedding of electronics in the brain, I can talk forever. I can quote all the books on that kind of stuff. But I also have to live in reality. I know what it takes to actually build these systems. And so it's fun to talk about these other things. But, we have to walk out of here and face what we do tomorrow and say, how has my life changed? And we have to be very pragmatic about it.
Thank you very much, Professor Mark. This is really very optimistic that I will take home with me and read more science fiction to understand. I agree with you about ChatGPT. I use it in my classroom as to teach something else to the students. So now the question is to Professor Lucia. You mentioned we were talking about intelligence and consciousness, and you made a very clear distinction between these two things in your opening remarks, Professor Lucia. And I was wondering, given all the limitations and all the constraints that were mentioned here by Professor Mark about the development or the current stage of development of artificial intelligence, how can we get it right? How can we embed some of our ethical values and make sure that if any day we get to the level of, let's say, what they call superintelligence, we are safeguarded from any harm or anything that artificial intelligence can do to humanity. I'm not sure if that's something that you'd be interested in answering, but I hope to hear an answer from you. Professor Lucia? Oh.
Bom, essa história de pôr a culpa do mal, the idea of blaming. I'm sorry, I'm listening to my own voice. We're having some sound issues.
Aqui. Pode falar normalmente.
Deu aí.
Obrigada. Então, eu defendo uma tese. Em primeiro lugar, eu gostaria de marcar que eu não sou otimista.
I'd like to say that I'm not an optimistic.
O mundo que nós vivemos,
So to be an optimistic in the current world is to be very naive, just like a child.
O que eu defendo
What I
enfrentar
say is that we need to face the challenges. O microfone,
não ver nenhuma separação entre
I don't see how to
distinção, sim,
separate things, but we can certainly distinguish human intelligence and from artificial intelligence. But I also do not like to guess about the future, because anything that we try to predict, we learn that it's completely different when it happens. So I'd say that our present is very challenging.
Virá, se a inteligência artificial vai
So whenever I'm asked if artificial intelligence will take over our intelligence, I'd say that this is a means to try to run away from what is going on. I wrote a book. So the trend is to see intelligence growing. Intelligence is just as life. It takes over. It occupies any empty area. And now, when we consider the extension of intelligence into artificial intelligence, what I advocate is that we are not complete, but what we see today is that when we extend human intelligence outside to our brain, this did not start now. It started when we started painting in the caves, because our brain is mortal and it's impossible to keep all of our memories, and tradition cannot be kept in our mortal brain. So when we look at the past, we will gradually see the presence of artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is not our enemy, and it's not evil. We talk about ethics in artificial intelligence. We need to start educating for the ethics of humans, because I'd say that today this is an issue because artificial intelligence may disseminate the lack of ethics in human beings. So this is what I had to say. And now I am going to my party.
No meio, acabou. Como é que eu sei? Vai lá. Fica aqui, cara. Será que eles estão vendo aqui a mesa ou eles estão vendo lá? Acabou lá. E o quê? Mas eu não estou ouvindo eles, estou sem som. Segue tirando. Cheio de emoção, né? Nem deixei você fazer as suas 15 perguntas.
Mariette.